Hello everyone, so in today's video I'm going to continue a picture in this colouring book that I've been working on, and this is the Millie Marotta's Tropical Wonderland, and this is then the picture in that book, this bird's nest here. So obviously you have your nice beautiful bird in the middle of the nest that I haven't started colouring yet, so that's still to come, but then you have the actual nest itself. So far I've already coloured in the flowers here. I wanted them to look like cherry blossoms, and I already have a tutorial where I showed how I did that. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description box below if you're interested in that. So what I'm going to do in this one is then work on the leaves here. And as you can see, I've already done some of them, and this is how I want them to look. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. So I'm just going to be focusing on this leaf here to show you how I do it. And then as for the colours that I'm using in my colouring pencils, I'm using Faber-Castell ones, but you can obviously use whatever you have handy. I have 4 different tones of green, so ranging from light all the way to a darker. And specific colours that I'm using is first of all a light green, then a grass green, and then I have a leaf green, and then the darkest one here is a permanent green olive. So again, it doesn't have to be these specific colours, that's just what I've chosen to work with. As long as you have colours ranging, or tones ranging from a lighter, graduating all the way to a darker green. So I then have my 4 colours handy here, and what I usually prefer to do is start out with the lightest one. And when I want to do this graduation, it's pretty much the same principle as when I did the flowers. I'm just going to make the shape on the leaves slightly different now and make them look a bit different. But what I then like to do is go down with the lightest colour first, and I'm just using a light hand, and I like to put down a wash all over it. Just like this. Like I said, it's light hand. As you can see, you can almost barely see the colour really to begin with. Just to get a bit of a wash. And then I take the second lightest, so the next one up, go from the bottom there, because what I want the lightest part to be on the outside, on the tip there, and the darkest in towards the bottom of the flower, or the bottom of the leaf there, that's closest to the flower. And then I work my way out, still using a light hand. And then I'm not going to go all the way out because I want that blending effect between the tones. So something a bit like this, again a light hand, so you can barely see the colour, but you will also be able to start to see that it does graduate. And then the next one up, again starting from the inside, working my way out. And what I'm actually doing as well with the leaves here, as you can see, it's pretty much the same principle as the flowers like I said, but I want a bit of a different shape. So for the leaves, I actually want the shape of my colouring that I'm laying down, the blending, to kind of go in the same shape as the leaf itself, so towards that tip, which means I'm actually in the middle here. I'm kind of pulling it a bit further up than out towards the side. So I'm almost making a bit of a point, but obviously a bit of a softer one. Something a bit like that. And then the next one, this is then the darkest one that I'm using. It's going to be the very inner colour. Go right in from there. And now I'm actually also starting to press a bit harder with my colouring pencil. So you're going to be able to see a bit more colour, laying it down stronger. Because this is the darkest one, so work from the lightest to the darkest, and then I'm just laying this down right at the bottom of the leaf in towards the flower. And it's also going to help create a shadow, because if you imagine, the leaf is kind of underneath the flower, so the flower is casting a bit of a shadow right in here in that area. So that helps with that as well, give some dimension to it. And again, I'm kind of pulling it further up in the middle than I am out to the sides. And just work a bit at a time here, so something like this for now. Then I'm going to start going the other way again. So I've just gone from the lightest to the darkest, then I'm going to go down towards the lightest again, one tone at a time, and then basically work the opposite direction again. Now I'm starting to press harder as well though, with all the colours. So I'm starting kind of going over the dark colour that I just used, and then pulling it outward, and that helps with the blending as well between the tones, and just going over that darker one from previous helps with the blending, but also helps make that more uniform. Again, pulling it out further in the middle, step down one tone, do the same thing. I start from just going over the previous colour that I just laid down, and then kind of working outwards, pulling that out again towards that point, getting that shape in there. And again, I'm pressing much harder now to also get that nice flat colour laid down. You get that nice finish And then I reach the lightest one, same principle, starting from on top of the previous colour and then pulling it all the way out to the tip there. And you can also really start to see that graduation now. And really get that blending in there. So this is kind of the base of it. It's actually ready now. What I then like to do is if I want to do any final touches. So also using the lightest one, I like to go over the whole leaf. So I go over all the dark area because that really helps all the tones blend together as well if there's any little bits that haven't been blended that well. This really helps with that. So just a wash, again pressing a bit hard. And then I want to go back to the bottom there, so in by the flower where the darkest part is, because I just want to emphasize that a bit more. You can see that on the other ones and give it a bit more of a shape. So I'm going to go right in here, again pressing pretty hard, right at the base. I want that to be the very darkest part, and as I'm pulling out, getting that shape in place, and I want to get a little bit of a hint of kind of that middle part of the leaf that you see. So I'm just going to pull this out a bit and get that kind of shape, so where the stem would be, that's attaching to the actual leaf itself. It gives a bit more dimension as well. And then I've done that, again take a lighter one to help blend it in a little bit, and then you just refine it until you're happy with it. So something a bit like that, and that's pretty much how I then colour in the leaves. So this is one of the larger ones. It's the same principle as the smaller ones. You just have to obviously account for the fact that they are smaller, you have less space. But that's pretty much how I do the leaves on this one. So you get this really nice effect, and I think it goes really well with the cherry blossom look on the flowers there. So that's then how I'm doing the leaves here for this picture. So obviously I'm going to continue doing the rest of them as well. So that means I'll then have the flowers and the leaves done. And then the next step that I'm planning on doing is then all these little branches that kind of makes up the base of the actual bird's nest itself. So that's going to be the next one for this picture that I have ready, hopefully as a tutorial, and just show you how I do that. So look out for that, and otherwise I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you very much for watching.